I would like to call the committee meeting for the Frederick County School Board to order. The date is March 7th, 2024. The time is 4:33.
Mr. Chair, it's March 4th.
Okay. We have an agenda before us. Do I have a motion for approval?
I'll make that motion to approve the agenda.
The motion has been made and properly, second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Dr. Hummer, it's all in your hands.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate that. So we have a couple items for you this afternoon. We are going to discuss our staffing updates with you all in regards to where we're at with our positions and filling those vacancies. We're also going to go through an HR training overview, something we started this year, and I want to thank the HR department for taking this on. We've received a lot of positive feedback in regards to providing our administrators with the support to handle the day-to-day when it comes to human resources. So we really appreciate that work, and we want to share what we've done so far and where we're going. And then we also want to discuss with you our recruiting and hiring overview in regards to where we start, how we bring along new individuals into Frederick County Public Schools, and then how we support them along the way. So we want to dive into that and see if you all have any questions or any suggestions or ideas that we need to take into account. So with that, I'll hand it over to Mrs. Frakely, and we'll go from there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Mr. Sturdivant. Sorry, it's a format. I gotta say it. Sorry. Thanks for joining us today. As Dr. Hummer just mentioned, this is what we'll be talking about. So let's jump in. You've seen these before, so this is the same standard overview that you get for staffing from meeting to meeting. So I'll give you a second to check that out. Ask any questions you might have.
I'm good with it.
All right. You can see that the previous slide breaks down a little bit further into teacher vacancies by content areas. So again, this looks pretty similar to the last time you saw it in regards to our top pressing needs around vacancies. So special education and elementary classrooms, again, rise to the top. And there's quite a spread difference between the elementary classroom at 9 vacancies and the next at 2. So those really are our most pressing needs.
Clarify for me, world language, what is that? I'm not trying to sound stupid.
No. Oh,
Spanish. French.
Okay,
Spanish,
that's
yeah.
what I thought, but I want to make sure.
sorry, I heard you speak up, so I didn't want to cut you off. No, you're good.
We'll be adding Chinese soon, no?
I'm sorry.
Would we be adding Chinese shortly?
We will not be adding Chinese yet to be taught in our schools. They do have that option through Virtual Virginia, though, Mandarin.
Okay, so the last time you saw this slide, when we look at teacher new hires, I believe we were 3 short, so we've added 3. And I'll show you where those years of experience live on our next slide. But these are the professional vacancies filled for this school year so far. So we added a teacher with 3 to 5 years, we added a teacher with 11 to 15 years, and we added a teacher with 16 to 20 years. So these are really great numbers for us. These are experienced veteran teachers. So they're bringing that with them here to Frederick County, which we love to see, all of that experience. And here's a look at our support vacancies as of February 23rd. So again, the same 3 rise to the top, instructional assistants, full-time flex subs, and then the bus driver aide positions. And then again, a pretty decent distance between bus driver aide and custodian, but still up there, and then trickling down, you'll see where we've got 2s and 1s there at the bottom of those various categories. But again, same as last month, instructional assistants, full-time flex subs, and drivers rise to the top. Any questions before we move on about staffing
None from me.
that I can answer for you? All right. So jumping into our HR training overview. So we're calling this an HR best practice training series. There are 3 sessions per group, and we've got 2 groups. a principal director group and an assistant principal and assistant director group. The training series runs from early February to early April. And what we did was we went out for survey and we asked our principal and director group what they wanted to see. So it's a combination of that survey feedback as well as things that we see on a regular basis in the HR department, which we would probably classify as like frequently asked questions. What are we getting over and over and over again that we would want to touch on to make sure that that's being covered? And then what are our high priority items? So we might not be getting questions about it, but we're seeing it as an issue that we need to train on because it would be beneficial to our staff to know more about. So we're really grateful to be able to hold these in person. They're about two hours a session, so it's a significant amount of time, which we're really thankful to Dr. Hummer and the rest of executive leadership for prioritizing this effort. And that really is to maximize engagement and the impact of the training, right? It's a lot different when you send out PowerPoint slides and pre-record something or try to hold something over Zoom. So we're just really, really glad that we're able to do this in person. And like Dr. Hummer said, we've got a really great response so far. So we're surveying the participants. We did a pre-survey. We'll measure that against a post-survey. We do a post-survey after every session so that we can dig into what folks liked, what they didn't like, where they're retaining the most information, what they'd like to see more of, et cetera. So it's been very well received so far.
With this survey, what are some of these high priority items that they're telling you?
Well, the high priority items are coming from us. It's things that we're noticing. But the survey feedback, you'll see when we get through, I'm going to do a quick run through of what the sessions look like. And all of those session topics have come from the survey in one way or another. So we're touching on direct feedback from the training participants. So for example, we've already done session 1. So in session 1, our survey told us that people wanted to talk more about cultivating culture in the buildings, making sure we're working in healthy workplaces. What does employee engagement look like? Because we know our teachers are burnt out, we know our staff is burnt out, and along those same lines, retention strategies for keeping our great people in our buildings and with our kids. So these are just a couple things that we touched on in terms of, you know, how do we build and cultivate a healthy work environment and a work culture that people feel motivated and engaged in.
Just, I'm not trying to be difficult but what's cultivating culture mean?
So like your work culture. So is it a place where you feel as though you can come and be candid with your colleagues? And if something, you've got an idea and you want to share that idea, is that idea met with, is that received well? Is it met with consternation? Is it met with negativity? Or is it a place where you feel as though you can come and share ideas and be heard and respected in that?
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so session 2, we just had part 1 of session 2. We're getting ready to have part 2 of session 2 this Friday, where we talk more brass tacks. So this is a lot of the, we're getting into the nuts and bolts of what we need to, in order to load our principals and assistant principals with those best practices for hiring, licensure, leave policies, and substitutes. As you can imagine, when we're talking about filling vacant positions and we're talking about the individual needs of almost 3,000 employees when it comes to making sure that they're licensed. Obviously, not all of those people are licensed, but our licensed staff is licensed. And if somebody needs to go out on leave, or how we're engaging our substitutes, or how we could best train our substitutes to make sure they want to come back and substitute for us the next day. All of those things are what we touch on or try to touch on in a conversational way through session 2. And I will say it's been really, really nice because our groups have been super interactive in having that two-way dialogue with us. So it's not us just, you know, teaching at them. It's very conversational and everyone's really engaged, which has been great.
I was wondering, with the new hires that have come in, how have they fit in the tier of the years' experience that you're trying to spread out? Did the new hires fit into the voids that we have, or did they fit into the years of experience that we have a multitude of? Where did they fit in, the new hires?
That's a good question. And, oh, sorry. I didn't know if I, yeah, no, I'm sorry. No, I didn't. My back is to you, so I'm sorry. I just didn't want to like cut you off. No, it's a really good question. And we're not necessarily hiring for specific years of experience. We understand that there's value in bringing those teachers on that are great veteran teachers and have a lot of years of experience, but there's also, that value in bringing on a new teacher who is there to learn and get creative and all the things and work their way into becoming an amazing teacher. So we don't have necessarily like hiring buckets in that regard. But I don't know if I'm answering your question.
Well, we have reviewed the years of experience with the teachers that we have. And there were certain years that we had a multitude of teachers with a certain amount of years, and we had more of them than newer teachers.
Okay.
So I was wondering if the new hires had fit into the void that we were lacking in.
I'll need to get back and see exactly what it is you were given so that I can give you an accurate answer, unless you
If
want
I'm
to take that.
understand your question, Mr. Chair, if you go back a couple slides, I think you're talking about the new hires. Oh, go forward. So this is the breakdown.
Right.
So, and we have this broken down by month. So for this past month, we've hired one teacher 3 to 5 years, one 11 to 15, one to 16 to 20. So when we're hiring, and again, if I'm understanding your question correctly, please let me know or not. But we don't show favoritism versus one group of years versus the other. As teachers come forward and they interview based on their years of experience, we utilize that as an added bonus. But if we have a first-year teacher, yes, we're going to bring them along. We're going to cultivate. We are going to share with you here in a second about how we bring those teachers along. But we're not going to try to say, well, no, we're only looking for 21 to 25-year teachers. We're going to make sure that we are covering that gamut. And sometimes it's 0 years, and sometimes it's 20 years. So it's going to be contingent on that. Now, based on where each of our buildings are in regards to the number of new teachers versus not, that's where we're going to come in and provide that additional training and support, because if they have half of their teachers are 0 to 5 years, they're probably going to need a little bit more support than a school that has teachers that are 16 to 30, because they're going to have less of that experience as a teacher that's 0 to 5. Does that help?
I was more referring to the budget because you were looking to tier the teacher's experience because of the amount of monies that they were making, looking to get new teachers from over the other side of the mountain.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So we're starting with the 25 years or more, and we want to get to 15 years or more. So if you have 25 years or more experience, you're going to have that $5,000 added on. Of course, hopefully, if the Board of Supervisors supports our budget. And then we're going to slowly work towards 20 years and then 15, so that more years of experience, we will honor those years of service time so we can keep our teachers here in Frederick County.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Great question. Thank you. Okay, so finally, when we get to session 3, we're going to be talking about performance management, and that includes a whole bunch of stuff from our evaluation process, which we're currently taking a look at, to having difficult conversations, right? People don't always love to have difficult conversations, but they're necessary and they help us grow and move forward. And then progressive discipline. So trying to take a steady approach, obviously, if there's something that rises to an urgent, emergent need, then that's handled accordingly. But when we're talking about, working through and with an employee that could have discipline issues, we try to take a progressive approach. Investigations, how do we do those? They are prescriptive, and so how do we do those in best practice to make sure that we are dotting all of our I's and crossing all of our T's, essentially, making sure that the division is nice and neat with the way we're conducting those investigations, but also giving the folks involved due process and a fair process.
Question,
Yes, sir.
and I'm sure I already know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask anyway. The performance evaluations, it's standard through the whole system, not one school has one performance evaluation.
Correct.
So they all have the same performance
Yes.
evaluation.
Yes, sir. Correct.
Would it be possible for me to just get a look at that just so I can see it for myself?
Sure. I don't see why not.
I'd appreciate it. Just email and copy
Absolutely.
it when you can.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And so some of the feedback that we also got was, how are we handling socially charged issues? And so what happens when XYZ comes to our door? And really that's to listen and gather feedback. And that is, what are we hearing in our schools that could be coming to us? And
What
so
do you hear?
Well, we're gonna get that feedback from our schools when we have these sessions, and until then, it's really just on a case-by-case basis, depending on what's coming down the pike, I guess, or if we've had issues we've had to deal with thus far.
Well, evidently we have some social issues because we're changing the construction of some of the schools so far as restrooms are concerned.
No, Mr. Chair, that is not accurate.
No?
No, sir. And that's completely different than what we're talking about in regards to socially charged things that are happening in the schools, but that is not what is happening, no, sir.
Well, the reason for the construction changes are because of the social issues.
Can you rephrase that question? I'm sorry, I don't understand your question. I apologize.
Okay. We have not had to face any social issues at this point.
In terms of the board or the division?
The division.
Right now, we work on a case-by-case basis if we have questions come in from the buildings that ask us about particular situations, individual situations, and we handle those on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you.
Okay? And then we're going to wrap up session 3 with time with Caitlin, actually, to talk about legal bills and things in legislature that could be coming down the pike that we need to be aware of, things that maybe have already been introduced. She's going to be granting us some of her time to speak with our both sessions, just because we know how important it is that everybody stay aware and up to date on things coming out of Richmond, things coming out of the federal government, et cetera, that we need to know about that impacts our division and the way we need to run it, policy, procedure-wise, best practice-wise. So really grateful to Caitlin for giving us some of her time in these sessions. Okay, any questions about the trainings? Like I said, they've been really, really well received and really engaging, and a lot of these folks have been there, so grateful for their time too. As leadership, I know it's hard to take that time out, but we're really prioritizing this, and so that's really, really great. All right, recruiting and hiring overview. So these are just a couple of the main ways, besides, I don't even know if we have word of mouth on here, which might be a big one for us. I'm always like, tell your neighbors, tell your friends, tell anybody that, think might be interested and make a great candidate. But these are some of our recruiting avenues that we utilize pretty heavily. Our back to school events, Teachers for Tomorrow, and our Grow Your Own are two programs that we actually have running. So those are programmed out efforts, right? And we partner with other universities and things like that. Like Grow Your Own, we partner with JMU and Laurel Ridge. So that's really nice. And then, of course, our collegiate relationships, SU's right here, Shepherd, making sure that those community outreach relationships are strong. I know you heard not long ago, and it might have been the board previous, but the school board recently heard from Allison Post, our new CTE supervisor, and trying to really cultivate those community relationships so that we build those networks as another recruiting avenue. Of course, online advertising. You can't really go anywhere without seeing stuff on Facebook and LinkedIn. And then our big event that's happening this Saturday, March 9th, our Licensed Educator Career Fair. And we'll show you what that's going to look like. That usually yields a really great response for us, so we're really excited. We'll be setting up for that all evening on Friday, and then the fair will run pretty much all day on Saturday. So these are just a few of the ways, besides all the networking. So here's a really high-level look at our Licensed Educator Fair, Career Fair. You literally follow the circles. We've been working through registration the past week before that. The team has been in overdrive on planning this event. It's a huge event, lots of moving parts. So folks will register, we'll match them up with interviewers, and then the interviewees will get matched. You'll be confirmed. We'll schedule that time. The interviews will take place on site. And then we can move forward with contingent offers if we're finding great people. So
Where are you having this at?
This is at Ayler. You'll see in 2023, we had 11 offers out for that day. So here's a more detailed look at what actually happens to get us to the fair and then what happens as a result. So we start this planning in June. We work through August, September, October. You'll see there it's a lot of the back office work in terms of setting up dates, finding locations, getting to work on the marketing materials, and then establishing that timeline to make sure that our interviewers are present, and the folks interviewing are our current building principals. Then November, we register for the fair and we throw it out on all of our platforms, job portals. The collegiate fair information goes out so that we can tap into various resources on that slide you just saw previously. We then start following up with registrants on their confirmations to make sure they're actually going to come and they give us a resume. Then we confirm with all the folks that are supposed to be attending to make sure they're going to show up. Confirm appointments, and then the day of the event, you'll see there all that detail. We can also have walk-in candidates. We really love it when you register because then we can plan for you, but we're definitely not going to turn you away if you walk in, so we plan for walk-ins as well. And I'm excited because I just missed this event, I think, last year when I came on board, so I'm just cannot wait to see this in action. It's a marvel from what I understand. So when we take everybody, when the day wraps up, then what we do is we follow up on the recommendations and work with building level administrators. And then we meet as a department to discuss what worked and what didn't work on the logistics of deploying this event. And also review survey feedback, because it's really important that we keep fine-tuning to make the experience as positive as possible. So it's a lot of work that goes into Saturday.
Question for you.
Yes, sir.
I've had to do some deal with hiring over the last 30-some years. Is it, do you have a lot of people that say I'm going to be there and then don't show up, or is the track record pretty good that they usually do show?
I have to defer.
Yeah, I would say that we have very few people that commit to coming and then don't show up. I could probably, just a couple probably over the years. We stay engaged with them throughout the whole process. So even this week, we're sending emails, checking in with them. So really excited.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so that's our big licensed educator career fair. So what does it look like when we open a position? So all of these steps have to happen in order for us to fill a position. And this goes back to some of what we touched on previously in terms of the background checks and things like that. So we open the position, the job is posted. You can follow along there. We work closely with our administration to make sure that everybody is on the same page. They're all knowledgeable on the same background information. And this is, again, what we just went through in our training. So this is fresh for our administrators, which is great as we go into hiring season. We're asking folks, and this is policy and they know that, or protocol, but making sure we're completing those 3 supervisory references, making sure we're talking to references using the same or relatively the same question set so that we're not asking one person one thing and another person another thing. We're keeping the process really, the integrity of the process throughout. So admin will complete recommendations to hire, and then that's when we come in and we receive that recommendation, we write up an offer, we make the job offer, and we notify school when the offer is accepted. Then we close the job posting, and the personal action form is then created and completed and sent to the hire, and they are put on for board action, which comes to you all. And then we do our orientation where we fingerprint, do a badge, do all that fun paperwork, and then we issue them their contract or assignment letter, and then the position is filled. So there's a lot of background that goes into bringing on just one person at a time. This happens for everybody.
What's the time factor for the whole process?
Well, it depends, really. It depends on how quick people are moving and for their interviews and how quickly people call back for reference checks, right? So, I mean, we can only get the references if they call us back, which hopefully they do in a timely manner. But, HR works really hard to try to turn these things around as quickly as we possibly can. But it could be a day, it could be within a week. It just really depends on how fast folks are able to line up for interviews, line up for reference checks, that kind of stuff. Now, we're at the mercy of the agencies that we send out fingerprints to and central registry to, right? So we do work closely with them in terms of, poking them to, okay, we're waiting for our stuff. How quickly can you get that back to us? But everybody in the state is also sending their stuff, sending their requests to them too.
I'm going to assume that's about a 3-4 week turnaround on those, isn't it?
Central Reg is pretty quick. Is it Central Reg that's pretty quick? Or? Central Reg takes longer than fingerprints. So what would you say? Sorry.
So fingerprints, if there's no record, we could get it back as quick as 24 hours from the time it's submitted. The central registry check is for history of child abuse or neglect, and that's the one that takes a bit longer, a couple weeks.
Any questions about the process?
How many applicants do you have for the fair?
Oh, I think it was like what, roughly 40, around 40 so far.
40, yeah? You feel
sir.
that's sufficient?
Well,
Hoping to get some more in the coming week, and
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have walk-ins as well.
yeah.
Now, once you put these get these applicants and you go through the process, do you put people on a waiting list or anything like that?
No, there's not really. Oh, sorry. Did you want to? Okay. There's not really a waiting list. I mean, we're working really hard to fill our vacancies, and as you saw, we have some that we need to get filled, and so no real waiting list.
One thing. They can apply for multiple positions, so we often see that if someone's interested in like becoming an instructional assistant, for example, that they might apply for openings at various locations. So
good
if they
idea.
interview one place and they might be a great candidate, not selected, there would be an opportunity for them to potentially be considered at another school. So
Thank you.
Okay, so what happens when we fill the position and then we get to that final orange bullet and it's, yay, you're hired, because we're always excited to have our new hires. We're very thrilled to have these fine folks join us at Frederick County. So what happens next? How are you supported by us once you get here, right? Because you're coming to us sometimes, like we just talked about, as a brand new teacher. Sometimes you're coming as a veteran teacher, but what everybody has in common is if you're new to the division, you're new to the Frederick County way. And so what does that mean, right? We want to acclimate folks. And again, talking about that positive workplace culture, how are we working to support you when you're new here? And even when you're not new, right? So a lot of these things, particularly when we talk about HR department supports and professional development, the mentor program, some of our best mentors have been our mentees and things like that. So supplemental pay opportunities, New Teacher Week really stands out as something that the division, it really separates from us from other divisions because we dedicate so much time to welcoming those new teachers and acclimating those new teachers. It's really intentional and purposeful for all the reasons why a good onboarding program is in place, and that's to set the stage, set the expectations, make that positive connection straight out of the gate. And all of these ways are additional ways in which we help to keep that going. So that one, particularly under HR department supports, right? That's just to say, like, we're there for anything and everything that we can help with. We talked in that our meeting last month about, you met the staff and all the ways that the staff is set up to help support. You just got to call. And we'll point you in the right direction and get you what you need. But yeah, these are all the ways. And, if Dr. Angela wanted to speak to anything PD related, or sorry, not to put you on the spot, but.
Actually, we will go into more depth in this in our instruction committee meeting next Monday.
Yeah, so any questions about any of these things? That's a lot of information, but that just really goes to show all the ways that we are working to support those coming into the division.
Smart Find Absence Management, what does that really mean?
So that's our leave management, substitute management program. Our buildings have smart find operators that help because we've got 3,000 people, potentially going out on leave, marking their absences if they need a substitute for the day, or they're going to be out for sick, annual, or personal leave. Yeah, so we're keeping track of all those people in that system. Any other questions?
Nope.
All right. Well, that was a quick rundown, and here's the summary of what we just talked about: staffing, HR training overview, recruiting and hiring overview. What other questions can we answer for you?
I'm good.
If I may, Mr. Chair, thank you again so much to our HR department. And as I think you all are seeing, they work very, very hard with what they have in order to meet the needs of our students through getting the right staff for our classrooms and our buildings and the right oversight. So there's a lot of work that goes into that. I think another piece too, because there are no recommendations to go to the full board for approval for this meeting, but you all are asking some fantastic questions because we want to make sure that you are informed on our day-to-day. We want to make sure that you are aware of what goes into all of the works and the intertwinings of our school division, because we have 2,500 staff that we have to oversee, and we're always trying to replace in regards to when staff leave, and we're trying to develop and cultivate the staff that stay, and all of that work takes a lot of time and effort to make sure that we have the best staff for our students, to make sure that we continuously meet our goals and our needs. So we appreciate this opportunity to share this information with you. And then, of course, any questions that you have now or later, we want to be more than happy to answer those questions so you all stay informed. So thank you, Mr. Chair, and thanks again to our HR department for all their work with this.
Absolutely.
I have to say that I got acclimated to the details of how you run things by when I was driving the bus and saw how the transportation department was involved with planning, replacement. It just astounded me, being as I was on a bus when I was younger, I had no idea what was involved, but participating in the transportation department enlightened me to the exceptional people that are dealing with it. Having a military background, I saw it was almost like with the buses, like an aircraft carrier, having the buses coming in and out, and the personnel, equipment, support. It just really, everyone that's involved with the public school system are very outstanding people, and I have come to appreciate the fine work that you people do.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.
Okay.
All right, so if there's no other questions, you just need a motion for adjournment unless, Mr.
Trust me, I'm making a motion that we adjourn.
I second it. We adjourn.
All right.
Just